If you are just starting Spanish, the difference between sounding like a beginner and sounding confident often comes down to a few small but critical mistakes. And today, we are going to fix them. You're watching Airlearn Spanish when we skip the boring stuff and help you speak like real people do, one lesson at a time. Let's start with one of the sneakiest categories of mistakes, false friends. These are Spanish words that look like English but don't mean what you think. Here's a classic. Embarazada doesn't mean embarrassed. It means pregnant. You don't want to say estoy embarazada unless you actually are. Another one is ropa, which doesn't mean robe, it means clothes. And asistir doesn't mean to assist, it means to attend. Also, actual doesn't mean actually, it means current. Sensible doesn't mean sensible, it means sensitive. And lectura doesn't mean lecture, it means reading. So, whenever you see a familiar looking word in Spanish, don't assume, check it. And over time, your brain will start picking up which ones are trustworthy and which ones are out to get you. Another big beginner trap is translating English word for word. It feels logical, but Spanish has its own rhythm, its own way of expressing things. For example, you want to say, I'm cold. If you translate directly, you might say, Yo estoy frío. But that actually means I'm a cold person, like emotionally cold, and you don't want to say that, I guess. The correct version is tengo frío. Literally, it would be I have cold. The verb tener is quite tricky in this sense, but it refers to having feelings and sensations in our body. Like, for example, tener calor. It means to be hot or to feel hot. Tener hambre means to be hungry. Tener sed means to be thirsty. And also, we use tener when we are talking about our age. A literal translation of I am 37 years old would be Yo soy 37 años. But that doesn't work in Spanish. It would be Yo tengo 37 años. Why? Because Spanish uses tener with physical sensations, a for ages. Start learning phrases, not just words. That way you pick up how Spanish really expresses meaning, not just how it swaps out vocabulary. This might feel small, but trust me, accents matter. They don't just change pronunciation, they change meaning. Take these two words, papa, which means potato if we pronounce like that, papa, and papa, which means dad if we pronounce like that, papa. So you don't want to miss those up at dinner, but also when we are writing, we have to pay attention to the accent or what we call the tilde. So we have the first one, sí, means yes, and the second one, sí, means if. And also, if you use the first tú, means the subject, and the second tú means the object. Make it a habit early on to include accents when you write, even if your notes or text. It'll improve both your memory and your clarity. Another point that we must clarify is that in English, we have to use pronouns. We say I speak, you speak, she speaks. But in Spanish, the verb already tells you who is doing the action. Yo hablo español is technically fine, but a native would just say hablo español. Same thing that you would use habla español, hablamos español, and we don't use the subjects in these cases. Don't drop the subject pronoun unless you really need to emphasize it. It'll make you sound way more fluent and way less like a textbook. Yep, Spanish has gender nouns, and while it might feel confusing at first, there is a logic to it. So when the words end in O, like el libro or el ojo, they are usually masculine. When the words end in A, they are usually feminine, like la mesa, for example. But it can be tricky because, for example, we can find some words like el problema ending in I, but is masculine, and la mano, which is feminine, even though it ends in O. There are rules, but also a lot of exceptions. Always learn new vocabulary with its article. This is the key to learn if it is feminine or masculine, to learn its gender. Instead of just libro, say el libro. Instead of just silla, say la silla. You'll start building an instinct for gender that feels natural over time. Some Spanish letters don't behave like English ones. For example, J sounds like a strong H in English. José sounds like José. Double L sounds like y or j. So llama might sound like llama or llama, depending on the region. Listen more than you speak at first. Pay attention to how native speakers actually say things, not just how they spelled. One of the trickiest things is knowing when to use tú or usted. But it's very simple. Tú is informal for friends, peers, people your age, and usted is formal for elders, strangers, or professionals. Say tú in a job interview might come off as rude. Say usted to your best friend might sound distant. So start by using usted to play it safe. You can always switch to tú if the other person does. Let's quickly recap. We've learned about false friends, literal translations, accent marks, overusing pronouns, gender mix-ups, mispronunciations, and tú and usted confusion. Avoid this and you'll be miles ahead of most beginners. And remember, no one speaks perfectly from day one. But if you can skip these early traps, your Spanish will sound more natural, more confident, and way more you. That's one step closer, sounding like a local. Nos vemos next time.